Yesterday we launched adaptive scheduling, and it's really like our take on what a AI first or AI native approach to Calendly would look like. So the backstory is, multiplayer is your assistant for emails and meetings. And one of the workflows that we handle is when somebody's trying to book a meeting with you, our AI will step in and write a draft, and it'll typically consist of like, hey, here's when Craig's available, and if Craig gives me a Calendly link, it'll just like, hey, and if you can't find if those times don't work, here's his Calendly, and you can just book your own. And we're like, hey, this seems kind of weird that we would not force, but encourage a user to have to buy additional software in order to get the most value out of multiplayer. And so on a weekend hackathon, our team was like, hey, like, what if we just rebuilt Calendly ourselves, but just because we're an AI company, let's just make it an AI first approach. And so that's what they did. And that really sort of opened our eyes because we took all of our design principles for how we design multiplayer and applied them to how you do calendar scheduling. So that's like, how do we understand who the user is? How they like what makes them most productive, when do they like to work, what are their patterns of behavior for meetings, and what are those patterns of behavior with regards to the types of meetings they have. Like, for instance, do I do all my internal meetings in the morning? Do I do my externals in the afternoon? Do I like to put back-to-back meetings? Do I like to have buffers, etc.? Like, it studies all of that. The second piece of it is like, um, how do I handle exceptions and rules? And like, we looked at a rules-based approach like Calendly, and what we noticed is like people have multiple links and URLs for different sets of rules. Like, this is my rule for a 30-minute meeting. This is my set of rules for like a customer meeting. This is my discovery call. Like, there's so many different approaches. And with an agent, and we're handling the email ourselves, we can say like, oh, here's the person on the other side of this conversation. Well, what do we know about them? What would be the most appropriate thing to show them in terms of availability? If it's an internal meeting, maybe I can do back to backs. Maybe I like it a certain time of day. If it's a customer, maybe I should build in some buffer time so I can send out my follow ups afterwards. Or, what if the meeting runs over? But, my favorite aspect of this, which has plagued us as a team because we have so many people around the world we work with, is like, well, what happens if somebody's on a different time zone? And so, one of my favorite aspect of this feature is like, we can detect the time zone of another person and be like, well, Craig's normal calendar doesn't align with this person because maybe they're based in Asia. However, if I can detect that other time zone, I know Craig sometimes will take a morning meeting or maybe a late evening meeting to make that time zone work for that particular customer. And so in this specific instance, I'll open up a different set of time slots. And we think this is like the excitement we have about using agentic AI to be your proactive AI assistant, is because it can use judgment. It can figure out like, what are the exceptions to the rule? What is Craig trying to accomplish here? And how do I modify or apply a broader set of context to the rules I choose to follow in order to make Craig the most productive? And and so that's why I'm really excited about adaptive scheduling. It was kind of like a thing we did just out as a matter of principle to see if we could. And it's turned into a really cool feature. So, I'm excited for you guys to try it. In fact, you don't even necessarily have to try it with all the other features that we have, but we think it works really well together. And so the idea is like, if you sign up for multiplayer and you allow multiplayer to sort of, triage your inbox and write drafts for you to continue conversations, it will also help you schedule meetings. And as part of that equation, you'll see this like, multiplayer calendar booking, as we call adaptive scheduling, that comes up in your emails. And you can use that URL anywhere. It doesn't have to be part of the scheduling email. You can just copy and paste and send it out to people, drop it in a text message, whatever it be, just like Calendly. And so, yeah, I'm personally super excited for you to try it. And stay tuned for what's more, because this is just the beginning of how you can use proactive AI agents to really like transform productivity for everybody and really put a proactive assistant in everybody's workflow.